I'm dealing with here in the United States. It's not just places like Italy or anywhere else that I'm dealing with liars, and I'm dealing with liars everywhere. But when I was trying to get Italian citizenship, and I fully qualified for this citizenship according to the laws that were in place at the time I applied. Had there been other laws that made my application somehow questionable, I would never have done this kind of thing. I wouldn't have done it at all. Okay? The only reason I went for the Italian citizenship was because I clearly qualified. Okay? Okay, so quickly, what were the rules when it came to acquiring Italian citizenship by blood descent? Well, the rules as they applied to me were, I had an Italian paternal grandfather. So, for me to claim Italian citizenship through descent from this grandfather, I had to show that my own father, who was born in the United States, was born here in this country before my grandfather became an American citizen. The reason for that, according to Italian law, was that when my father was born, since my grandfather had not yet become an American citizen, Italian citizenship passed directly to his son, my father. Okay? And if my father had not somehow renounced his Italian citizenship, then I inherited that citizenship as well. So all I had to do to claim Italian citizenship was show that I was the descendant of this father and grandfather, that I had not renounced my Italian citizenship, my father had not renounced his. And as I say, my father was born before my Italian grandfather became an American citizen. That's it. That's the entire case for claiming Italian citizenship. At the time, the laws were in place when I was going to try for this, and it was clear as day. I had the immigration documents from my grandfather that clearly showed that my father was born before my grandfather became an Italian citizen. Okay, so here I qualified. Okay, and I had to prove as well that my grandfather was born in Italy, okay? So, I had the immigration documents which clearly showed what I just said. When my grandfather became an American citizen, when my father was born, and so on, I had all that. It's clear as day, no questions about any of that. And then the other thing was, and this is not a big deal either. My grandfather was from a place in Italy that had been completely destroyed during World War II. And everybody in Italy, and especially everybody in the citizenship thing, knew very well that all documents in this area of Italy had been destroyed. That means all birth certificates. Okay? Everybody in Italy knows that happened in this area. So it's a big surprise when I I write to get my grandfather's Italian birth certificate and I get the answer back. All the documents in that area were destroyed. You don't have your grandfather's Italian birth certificate. However, I got Ancestry.com to look for some other proof that my grandfather had been born in Italy, and Ancestry.com got me what's called my grandfather's military registration document. Okay? This military registration document is the document that the Italian government uses to call up men for service in the armed services in Italy. And I was told by Ancestry.com that there is only one source for this government document, the military registration document, and that is the Italian birth certificate. There's no other source. So, if you have a military registration document, that should be proof that you were born in Italy. Especially since all the birth certificates were destroyed over there in this particular area of Italy where my grandfather was from. Now, I had everything, including this proof that my grandfather was born in Italy, and yet I was denied citizenship. The Italian embassy here in Washington, D.C. said that I had to get my grandfather's birth certificate reconstructed by an Italian court. So I went and did that, even though I had two sources telling me that the embassy should have accepted this military registration document for your grandfather as proof that he was born in Italy. So, two highly reputable sources of information on this question told me that the Italian embassy had treated me unfairly. Nevertheless, I went and paid the money and got my Italian grandfather's birth certificate reconstructed in an Italian court. So now I had the Italian birth certificate for my grandfather, which means I now had everything, okay? So I was denied citizenship even after that. And why? I don't even understand. I'm told that somehow during that time between the denial of my citizenship by the Italian embassy here, after I applied at the end of 2017, and I got a rejection letter sometime like in the summer of 2018, that long later. And by the time I got the actual birth certificate that I was told I lacked, I'm told that the laws have somehow changed during that time period. The laws had been in force for years and years and years. Well, how many years? I don't know. Years and years and years and years. And suddenly they're going to change. Well, I don't even understand. I don't understand the case made against the citizenship based on the change. However, you're gonna hold me to a changed law when my application was under the previous laws, and I was told under that previous legal framework that all I needed was this birth certificate, and suddenly I'm going to be expected to fulfill laws enacted after I've made the application? That makes no sense. My application was under the previous legal framework. And under that, I was told by the embassy I just needed this one thing. So the whole thing is in a completely unfair result for me. And I'm saying that the people behind this are liars for what they've done. And there's no getting around that. So that is not what I wanted to talk about in this message. What I wanted to talk about was, as part of getting the necessary proofs that I was descended from this Italian grandfather, I had to deal with a bizarre situation here in the United States, which was that my father's birth certificate had a wrong name for my father and for my grandfather. It had an Americanized version of our family's name, which was never used by our family. In fact, until I saw this corrupted birth certificate, I never knew that our family name had ever appeared in the form it appeared on this birth certificate. I never knew that. I'm sure no one in my family knew. My father told me right before he passed away, he said, I think that my birth certificate has a wrong name on it. That's what he said to me. Well, I found out that was true. So what did I have to do? I had to have my father's and my grandfather's names as the two deceased individuals legally changed their correct names to make sure that Italy would know that grandfather they knew as Miele was the same grandfather I had, okay? So here's the bizarre situation I encountered, okay? Never mind that it was the United States government that screwed up on this birth certificate, okay? They're the ones responsible for getting the right names on it. Not my Italian grandfather who can't speak English, right? It's the Americans at Ellis Island or whoever wrote down his name incorrectly that were responsible for getting his name right, not my grandfather. So, the American government goofs up on this birth certificate, and who has to pay for correcting the mistake? I do. That's fair? That is not fair right there. The American government screwed up, and I gotta go to court and pay money out of my pocket to correct the mistake made by the American government. That's not fair at all. They should pay for that, or I should pay nothing. Well, anyway, I got to go to Washington County, Pennsylvania to try to get this mistake corrected, okay? And I'm making calls to places in Washington County, and I'm not getting any response. People are not answering the phone, or they're not returning calls or anything, so I go up there in person with my wife, and I go to like lawyers' offices, and I'm trying to call them, and I go to their door, the door to their office, and I'm knocking. No one's answering the door, letting me in. It's an extremely bizarre situation. Why is that? The reason is I'm dealing with liars here, lying to me. And I'm saying probably I was being lied to because the American secret police were behind this attempt to keep me from being an Italian citizen. Okay? Why would that be? Because my Italian grandfather and my father were in the mafia or something? They were nothing of the kind. Okay? Here's the reason that the American secret police would have been keeping me from getting that birth certificate corrected and for my getting Italian citizenship and getting the hell out of the United States. Here's the reason. The reason is because my father apparently was somehow connected up with the American secret police. He was either an agent himself or an informant of some kind, or, I don't even know how these operations work. So, how he might have been connected, I don't know. But he was definitely connected. And so, I'm saying that this father of mine committed crimes with these American secret police, and the American secret police used him to commit crimes. Okay? So, of course, if I'm a potential witness against this father of mine, the American secret police don't want to see me become empowered in any way to get at them through his guilt. Okay, so they've been thwarting every single thing I've wanted to do, not just with this citizenship, but in life. Probably since I've been an adolescent. It sounds pretty crazy, right? Well, I can't help how this situation sounds. I can't help that. It's the truth. What the situation is. So, here's the proof of what I'm saying. I can't get in touch with lawyers. Look, my experience with lawyers is it is a simple matter to get in touch with lawyers, just like it is with any business person in the United States. People in business want your business and they want your money. And yet I'm up there in Washington County knocking on doors and people are not answering or anything. It's incredible what I faced. Well, finally, my wife and I are up there in a campground, staying overnight in a campground. We finally got a lawyer to respond, and I got my grandfather's and father's names changed in Washington County, Pennsylvania court. I was there in the courtroom with my lawyer, and I got the names changed, and I went to the Office of Vital Statistics and got a correct birth certificate for my father that had my father's correct name and my grandfather's correct name. So I had to have their names legally changed, both of them, to do that. Well, that enabled me to get the Italian birth certificate for my grandfather and clearly showed that that grandfather born in Italy was the grandfather I had here in the United States, and I was clearly a descendant of that grandfather through my father. I did all that. The cost to me was around $4,000. That I had to pay for America's mistake on my grandfather's birth certificate. It wasn't my mistake. Was it my grandfather's mistake or my father's? Okay, so what I'm saying is, not only did I do all the right things legally here, okay, when it comes to Italian citizenship, okay? Think about me, I am of Italian descent, okay? And I've honored that throughout my life, including studying Italian in college, to the point where I was taking classes in the most famous writer Italy ever produced, Dante Alighieri. Now, I studied the Italian language and became fluent in Italian. I would be reading Italian magazines and newspapers across the years. I continued to study Dante's Commedia, translating a few lines every day for years. And I did all this simply out of interest, not to become a citizen. I didn't even know I could become a citizen. I didn't know it until like around 2013. I had no idea. So, when I was 22 years old and graduated from college, and I visited Italy and stayed in the apartment of my Italian grandfather's younger brother in Rome. Okay, please, hold on, okay? She's upset about the liars here in the United States. Okay. Okay. I stayed in the apartment of my grandfather's younger brother in Rome, and with other family members. I had no idea at that time I could have had his help to become an Italian citizen by this law. I didn't know the law was even there. I was there visiting my grandfather's younger brother out of love for my grandfather and my Italian relatives. That's why I was there. Not to try to use them in some way to become a citizen. I didn't know it was possible. And I wouldn't know for another, almost 40 years. So I did all the right things. These countries say, we want you to know our language, we want you to study our culture, know something about our history. And then, if you've done those things, maybe you can become a citizen. Well, I did all those things simply out of love for my own family and my own heritage. And yet, not only did I do all those things out of love, not out of a desire to become a citizen. Not only do all those things, but I also qualified in every way according to the laws in place when I made my application. Okay? So I read about the laws around 2013, and I made my application in November 2017, when I had all my documents except that Italian birth certificate that had been destroyed. But I had my grandfather's Italian military registration document. And then I got the birth certificate, and yet with all that, I got no Italian citizenship. So I'm saying the reason I didn't, because I'm dealing with liars in the American Secret Police. Liars that have wrecked my life with their lies. And, well, apparently there's nothing I can do about it. Except make a video like this to show that I'm angry that it's happened. Well, I just wanted to express myself on this matter this morning. Today is the 9th of August, 2026. And it's almost 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm now an old man, and I just wanted to say once again, I'm dealing with liars here in the United States that have wrecked my life and have wrecked the entire view of America I was brought up to believe to be true. It's not here at all. And I'm very angry, and so I've made this video. That's all from me for now. Bye for now. I'd like to make this footnote to the recording I just made. The liars here of the secret police of the United States are behind my having been arrested without warning, and declared to be a certified paranoid schizophrenic. They're behind that. Okay? So, all the things I did to get that citizenship, right? I went and got the documents. And in addition, I went to the courts in another state and got my father's and grandfather's names legally changed. Now, this is the kind of thing that a certified paranoid schizophrenic can do. I just want to ask that question of the American people and people around the world.